Good morning, everybody. It's Sunday yet again. It's week 2. We Talking About Sports is back with another Sunday session. It's week 2, and we got two guys on the podcast today. We're too short.
Yeah.
It's Roland here. I'm joined by Ron. Ron, how was your weekend? How are you doing today? Looking
What's
good.
up?
Still sporting the Cowboys gear, so I like that. I respect it.
Yeah, I mean it's week 2, man. I haven't given up on them just yet. Even though they're pretty much done for the year, but we still got to support the boys. We still bleed the blue. But here, man, just going too deep today for week 2. Shout out to Ben. Shout out to Justin. They couldn't be with us, but it's all right. We're still gonna have a great show, and I'm ready to go, man. I'm sorry, I am a little hurting. Got a little crazy last night for the Canelo fight.
I was about to ask, did you watch the
Yeah,
Canelo fight? Did you get to have a little get together, a little barbecue in the
yeah,
backyard, big
yup, man.
screen?
Yeah, shout out to my cousin Aldo. He bought a brand new like tabla, and he made some fucking badass carne, bro, and trompo, and we had some tacos, and we were out there drinking some
Nice.
Happy Dads and watching the fight. And I thought it was a good fight. Triple G gave everything that he could, but it was just the age difference. You could definitely see it. I mean, he was 40, Canelo's 32. Canelo coming off that loss against Bevo, which was a heavier guy. I kind of knew the fight was going to go this way, but as a Triple G fan, I was still hoping for some miracles, but it just didn't happen. Canelo was too good, and he beat down the older fighter like he should have. But they gave us 12 rounds. I mean, they gave the people what they wanted.
Yeah, and it looked like time may have passed Canelo by a
Yeah.
little bit, and I saw some people were tripping on the scorecards. Were 115, 113, and a lot of people were saying it wasn't even that close.
Hmm.
But you never know with scorecards in boxing or in fighting in general, so
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen there. There's college football. I was watching UTSA versus UT.
Yeah.
It was looking good for a while. UTSA had some pretty big trick plays there in the first half. They took the lead for a little bit. They were up by 10 at one point, but then, Texas, just too talented, kind of took over with their running back play and
Mhm.
some miscues by UTSA. But definitely like what I saw out of my Roadrunners. Hopefully they clean things up for the CUSA play and they'll be good to go. But yeah, we're right in the middle of things, right? We're right in the middle of like sports just going on every single day pretty much. So Saturdays crazy, Sundays going to be even crazier, and that's what we're here to talk about today. It's fantasy heavy today. We're going to get through
Yeah.
all of your questions. We opened up the mailbag this past week. We got some questions from you guys on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you to everybody who commented on those posts and sent us your fantasy questions. And, we have some of our own questions as well. So we're going to ask it here on the podcast, and hopefully it helps somebody through discussion. But without further ado, let's get into it. Before, actually, I didn't even look at
Yeah.
the slide. Before we even
Nah,
get
you're
to
fine.
it, we got 5 on it. We got 5 minutes on this Chargers-Chiefs game that happened on Thursday. Ron, he took you guys through it pregame, gave out some plays. I think some of them
Oh
hit,
man,
some of them didn't. But,
bro.
that's why we play the game.
That
Ultimately, good game, 27-24. Maybe the score wasn't as close as it might seem, but if you ask me real quick, I think the Chargers kind of gave that one away. But Ron, what are your takes since you gave it to us pregame? Well, what are your takes with what actually happened?
Bro,
Shout
we owe the fans. Me and Justin owe the fans something. Or who did I do the show with on Thursday? I think I did it with Justin, or I did it by myself. Maybe I don't know. But we owe the fans, man, because we went 0-3 on the pod for the first time, and that never happens. We went 0-3. We took some props. Ben took Clyde Edwards-Helaire to score. We missed that. So Justin took, no, I'm sorry, Markey. Shout out to Markey. He took Eckler to score a TD, missed that. I took halftime first time on the Chiefs, missed that. So sorry, that's the first thing. But thank you for still riding with us. We did go 0-3. We owe the fans something. I think I'm gonna owe
Yeah.
the fans something. But as far as the game itself, bro, what a game, man. You can't count out Patrick Mahomes. I mean, this dude can be down, 7, 14, 21. It doesn't matter. He's so calm. He's so collected. That pass that he threw sidearm was ridiculous. And yeah, just like you said, you kind of have to say, here are the good old Chargers again.
They chargered
Losing,
it.
yeah, losing games by one score possession. 3 points, 7 points. We saw Herbie get hurt. Bad look for the Chargers because Mike Will, who you said was going to have it, that's the only thing we got right. I think is Mike Will. You said he was going to
I was
have a
waiting for
huge
you to say
game.
it. I didn't want to,
Yeah,
toot my own horn. I was waiting for you to bring it up. But Mike
yeah,
Will, he did have a good game, a good half. He went
yes.
off in the first half. But yeah.
Yeah, man, he did. So, um, shout out to you for giving the only good play on there. But Chargers charged it like you said. Don't count out the don't count out the Chiefs ever. Pretty much is the moral of the story. And we got a good start to week 2. It was a very entertaining game. I would
Yep.
say it was a close game, something that you want on a Thursday night, and it's hopefully it's at the precedent for week 2 because
Yeah.
week 1 went off, bro. We had a tie,
Yeah.
we had overtime games, so hopefully week 2 doesn't disappoint, and I don't think it will.
Bunch of upsets for sure. And just real quick, last thing on the game, what did you think of it being on Amazon? Did you like that? Did you have any trouble with your stream?
Well, I have Amazon Prime, so I'm good. So I mean, I was fine. I didn't have to go out and get it or do the free trial or anything like that.
There we go. Yeah, I have Amazon Prime too. I was just wondering because I was seeing a bunch of people complaining about the stream on Twitter, so was just wondering what your experience was like. But
Oh, okay. No, man.
maybe
My stream was cool, bro. My
yeah.
stream was cool. It didn't like freeze or anything. What's up, fellas? On my way to work. Fuck my life.
What's up, Ben? What's up, Mark? Shout out everybody in the comments. Yeah, but I think there's going to be more games on Amazon to come. I liked Kirk Herbstreit on the call. Kirk Herbstreit, pretty knowledgeable guy.
Yeah,
Can tell
bro.
he does his homework for sure. Yeah, Jerry said he didn't catch it, but yeah, the stream was good, Jerry. I didn't think it was behind. I think that's just one thing to look for too for live betting. I know, Ron, you're big on live betting.
Yeah.
And when you're streaming, you're a couple seconds behind. I know you usually watch Red Zone or you got your Sunday ticket, so you're watching pretty live. But just one thing to look out for when you're live betting is you're probably a good 30 seconds behind on some of these.
Yeah, Jerry said the next gen
games.
stream. I didn't get to catch that, but it sounds fucking dope.
Yeah,
I'm down to check that out again.
That was a Thursday night game, like Ron said, did not disappoint. Generally, it was a pretty good game. Hopefully, Justin
I think we
Herbert
have
is
the
not
score
too
on the
hurt.
next one.
Yeah, hopefully he's not too injured. It was 27-24. The spread, the Chargers covered. So if you had the +4, they backdoored their way there. 27-24 with that last second touchdown to Donald Parham, who I left on my bench, but it's all right because he really didn't do much besides that touchdown. And the over-under, you missed it if you took the 53 because that landed at 51. And that looked like an obvious over, right? You get these two teams together, obvious over. But defenses came to play, and there were some mishaps by the Chargers, too.
Yeah, some turnovers.
Did not lead to points. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
want to know why Ben would work the next day, knowing that he went to the Longhorn and UTSA game.
Tough. You
got to get today off.
Yeah,
boy.
Ben's got to put in those hours. I know he's killing it right now, but got to put in his time, I'm sure, working those Sundays. But let's get to the weather. Let's get to the weather outlook for week 5. Week 2, excuse me. That was a little look back at Thursday Night Football. The weather here, there are a few weather games to look out for. I want to say the weather games you're going to look out for today are the 49ers and Seahawks. Trey Lance cannot catch a break. There's some rain expected in that 49ers game, although it's not going to be crazy as it was versus Chicago. And Chicago's the other team. They're talking about some weather in Green Bay, although it doesn't show on this screen here. And then some possible rain in Jacksonville. But
like the weather is a big thing. You said it last week. You called the San Francisco and Bears game. You said it was going to be bad, and I said on the pod, I go, you should look into the unders for sure. And the unders definitely hit. I mean, it was a monsoon out there, so pay attention to the weather, man. It does have an effect. A lot of these teams and a lot of these squads play in domes. These new stadiums, but there are still games out there that the weather can be effective. So be on the lookout for that for unders, or if you like for your quarterback to throw a pick, or for there to be fumbles, or if you have a defense in fantasy, you probably want to start the defense in fantasy that has a bad weather game, because it's going to be low scoring and the opportunities for turnovers are going to be there.
Yep, no, that's a very good point, and another good point by Ben. And Ben, shout out to you for being in the comments. I know you're not here, but he made a good point. You got to wait to live bet on commercials when you're watching a game streaming, like on Amazon Prime. So just your best bet is to wait till commercials when you know there's a for sure pause in the play. Even if you're 30 seconds behind, you got a good look at the play that you're trying to bet if you're betting on it during a commercial. So good point by Ben. All right, let's move on. This is probably the most important point of our show today, our most important slide. And it's crazy because it's only week 2. We pointed it out last week because it was only week 1 and there was still a long injury report. But we go to week 2. It might be even worse. It's headlined by Alvin Kamara, who last night, and I didn't see it because it came in late at night. I was already asleep, I think. The notice came out that he for sure is going to be out today. It's expected Alvin Kamara will not play due to a rib injury. I guess he sustained that in week 1. So he's out for week 2. He's a first round draft pick. If you were picking towards the end of the draft season, once all the news came out that he would be good to go amid any legal clouds that were over his head, but he's injured. He's going to be out. Another name out yet again, George Kittle. He's out with a groin injury. So I have actually both of these guys on one team. So I'm
Wow, you got
hurting.
hit
Yeah.
hard, bro.
In our keeper league, I think I have Kamara and Kittle on
Damn.
the same team. So not looking good for me there. And then also, I think this is probably one of the other ones to monitor. And then I'll let you choose somebody here. As DeAndre Swift, he's probably going to play, but
Oh my God.
based on what I'm reading, is Swift will be on a pitch count. And we already know that they like Jamal Williams.
Yup.
So they give Jamal Williams the looks in the red zone. He got some goal line looks. Even when it was Swift, they got him up to the 1 yard line. They called in Jamal Williams to put it in there. DeAndre Swift going to be on a pitch count. Anything on here besides the guys that I've pointed out, or if you want to touch on any of those 3?
Michael Pittman, he's out with a quad.
Yep.
That was
out.
huge. I know Ben's a Pittman owner, and I know he went off last week. I don't have him on any of my rosters, but I thought the Colts were going to go in and win the game today. I think they have a small spread, but that's a big hit to them, man. Julio Jones, who else do we have on there? J.K. Dobbins. I think J.K. Dobbins is back from what I read, but I think he might be on the pitch count, just like they have Swift. T. Higgins, concussion's questionable. That could be a big loss because we saw Joe Burrow have a little bit of trouble getting the ball to other guys that wasn't Jamar Chase last week. Prescott and Gallup, who cares? I'm tired of them. Lazard's questionable. Oh, Gabe Davis, bro. Any final word on Gabe Davis?
Haven't heard anything, and I just wanted to point it out there on the screen. He is a Monday Night Football player.
Okay.
His game is Monday night. So if you have him on your team, you got to make your decision more than likely today because I don't know if you have a flex guy or ready to go from the other Monday night game that's taking place tomorrow. It is a doubleheader. But Gabe Davis, he was a late add to the injury report. Ankle injury, questionable. I do want to point out, Mark said in the chat, J.K. Dobbins is out, so J.K. Dobbins not expected to play.
Okay.
Second week in a row. They're probably being pretty careful with him. I mean, the best running back on the team is still Lamar Jackson. So if you can hold back J.K. Dobbins from coming back another week, you're going to go ahead and do it. A couple other things I do want to point out is Julio Jones. I saw a tweet. He is going to be out today along with Chris Godwin. So look for guys like Russell Gage to step up. Leonard Fournette probably going to step up even more. Ben pointing out Isaiah McKenzie. If he's available in any of your leagues, you want to pick him up for Gabe Davis if you don't have any better options out there. Isaiah McKenzie, I think he scored a touchdown week 1, so he made value if you played him. So another good look for him, especially with Gabe Davis probably being out. And you got to make your decision today. You got to make it soon because, again, he is the Monday night player, so you don't want to be left with the bag, not being able to do anything about it. So those are the injuries, long injury list, long injury report.
That is a lot of guys for week 2.
Yep, for week 2. And we know a lot of leagues that I know I'm in one of them. I'm a commissioner in one, a member in another, where we were carrying 2 IR spots because of COVID. But this year, since the whole COVID stuff kind of went away, we went back down to 1 IR. And then all these injuries are happening. So a lot of roster implications. It's tough.
And it's not
stash guys.
And it's not only the fact that there's a lot of guys on this list, but there's a lot of stars on this list. I mean, you have huge names, man. Starting running backs, Kamara, Swift. It sucks, bro. But that's what makes fantasy is you gotta tinker and you gotta be a good GM and you gotta trade and you gotta, put guys on your bench. This is where you go back to your draft, and it was round 13, round 14, round 15, and you were you should have still been looking at guys to take because of injuries. So it's all about how you drafted. These key injuries to big guys, it's gonna put some weight on your drafting skills.
Yep, so, no, definitely.
It'll make
especially
it fun
when you're looking at your bench and you're seeing what you did in the back half of that draft and seeing if there's anybody viable to put in for sure. So yeah, I have some decisions to make because actually all three of those guys on the top of the list, I have rostered on one of my teams
Same, bro.
in my fantasy. So see what's going to happen to me this week. Moving on from the injury report, hopefully to some better things. It is our fantasy mailbag. So we're going to have some lighter news here. Enough injuries. We're going to be talking who to start, who to sit, who's going to be making a name for themselves here in week 2, and hopefully leading us to victory here and getting us off to 2-0 starts. Maybe getting on the win column and going to 1-1, and
Get us to
avoiding going
500.
0-2. Never want to start 0-1. You definitely don't want to start 0-2. So definitely want to get on the win column if you haven't already. But this was our fantasy mailbag. Shout out to Ron for putting together the graphic. You can always hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Any of your questions, we'll get to them and we'll put them up here on the podcast to talk about them if you're not in here commenting.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So first question is from Josh. Shout out Josh. He wants to know, it's a tight end question. Tight ends can make or break your lineup sometimes. If you don't spend your money or spend draft capital on tight end early in the draft, you're more than likely going to be picking different ones throughout the year. And it's very commonplace here in fantasy world. So Josh, his question is, do you want to go OJ Howard versus Denver, who scored twice last week for the Houston Texans, Higbee versus Atlanta, or Dalton Schultz versus Cincinnati? Now, Ron, you're donning your Cowboys gear. I want to say I'm pretty sure you drafted Schultz in one of your leagues. Are you lining him up to go tonight, or are you scared of him with Cooper Rush at quarterback?
I'm not, man. I'm not going with Schultz. Shout out to Josh as a top fan. He submitted this on Facebook. I'm gonna ride the hot hand. I'm gonna go with OJ Howard versus Denver. We saw, is it Disley or
Disley? Yeah,
Disley? Yeah, we saw him get the first score in Seattle versus Denver. I'm not gonna ride Schultz because of the quarterback. The quarterback situation is just trash. I don't think that he's gonna see enough looks over there. So Schultz, I'm not starting, which is crazy because he was he a top 5? I mean, I would say he was a top 5 tight end, being drafted.
ADP, yeah.
Yeah, and OJ Howard wasn't even on anybody's radar, but you just got to go with the hot hand here. Higbee versus Atlanta. I'm not a big Higbee fan. I don't think that he can create much after the catch. And I don't think he's that goal line target. I mean, you don't look for Higbee around the goal line. Howard, to me, just showed out. I mean, if Mills likes him, he went to him twice last week for 2 touchdowns. Give me Mills to answer Josh's question here.
All right. So Ron is going with the Houston Texans tight end. He's going with OJ Howard. So Josh, if you're watching, Ron's on OJ Howard. I'm gonna zig a little bit here. I'm not going with Dalton Schultz. I do want to point out Ben is on Schultz out of these 3.
Cowboy haters.
I think the safest one here out of the 3, in my opinion, just based on what's happened this year, is Tyler Higbee. I know he doesn't give you much yards after the catch, but he was targeted about 11 times last week by Matt Stafford. So Matt, I know a lot of that was because he was under duress. And usually when you're under duress, you're going to go to the guys that you know. And so that was Higbee and Cup for him last week instead of going to Allen Robinson. But give me Higbee. I like his matchup against the Falcons. They're 10-point favorites. So I think they should, have a lot of opportunity to score. So give me Higbee to at least give you a safe baseline and not give you a goose egg. So, that's all that you're looking for with these options here. Not really trying to hit a home run. I mean, but shit, you could hit a home run. I mean, OJ Howard, 2 touchdowns last week. So definitely playable for sure.
Yeah, Jerry said deep league tight end to stream is Evan Ingram. So little tidbit there from the chat. If anybody has Evan Ingram on their squad, he might be a good start. Or if he's on the waiver wire, I mean, maybe you don't waste a waiver on him, but if he's available and you can just pick him up, why not, man? Scoop him.
All right, let's move on to the next screen, and we will get to the ones here in the comments shortly. Just want to go to the ones that are lined up. Josh, you've got one more from Josh here, top fan, as Ron pointed out earlier. Ravens defense versus Miami, or do you want to go Rams versus Atlanta? For me, real easy. I'm going Rams versus Atlanta, excuse me. They're 10-point favorites. There should be some turnovers in that game, although Mariota's a pretty conservative quarterback. but I don't think Atlanta's going to do much. So give me the Rams to get a turnover or two and to keep this pretty low scoring from Atlanta today. Definitely a big bounce back game for LA after losing the Thursday night game. So big spot for the Rams here.
Yeah, this one's tough, bro, because both defenses are good and they're going against quarterbacks who can somewhat scramble. So sacks might be hard to come by. Tua's a little bit agile. He's that mobile quarterback, so you might not be able to sack him as easy. Mariota showed out last week. I mean, he played well. They should have got the win over the Saints last week, but oh man, this one's tough. I think I have to go with the Rams here just because I think Mariota makes more mistakes than Tua. The running game in Miami isn't great, so I could see somebody picking Ravens. So honestly, Josh, you really can't go wrong with either one. Roland's on the Rams. I'm honestly on either one, man. I can't make the choice here.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough. I just, like I said, I like the Rams. They're bigger favorites in the game, 10-point favorites. The Ravens are only 3.5 points, so should be a little bit closer. But like you said, either way, I think both. I mean, it's not like the Ravens are going to go out and give up 40, right, and leave you
Yeah,
with
true.
negative points. So I get what you're saying in that regard for sure.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the next screen here, let's get to some of the ones that are here in the comments section. Shout out Diego, always with us every Sunday.
Yes, sir.
Full point PPR. He needs to choose between three of these guys. I mean, he needs to choose three between the four. Excuse me. CD, Deontay Johnson, Adam Thielen, or Russell Gage.
Oof.
So you got CD Lamb. He's got trouble with his quarterback going up against the Bengals. You got Deontay Johnson also has trouble with his quarterback going up against the Patriots today. Good defense. You got Adam Thielen going up against the Eagles, and you got Russell Gage, who could be taking a couple steps up due to injuries, going up against the Saints with Tom Brady as his quarterback. This is pretty tough to me because
It is, bro.
just first glance, I would say you go with the first three guys listed here, right? Just cut it off at Gage, right? You go with your first three, and you're good to go there. But with the injury to Dak Prescott, I mean, they didn't look good when Dak was playing. I've seen Cooper Rush play. You've seen Cooper Rush play. America has seen Cooper Rush play, and he's not good. I mean, he's one of those guys that you wonder like why or how he's rostered. It's just like one of the guys that the Cowboys like to have him around. Like Cooper, he's a good guy to have around. He's good for the locker room. He's a good guy to have in the quarterback room. Just keep him around. But then when he actually gets to throwing the football, you're just looking there, just a little quizzical. So, and I expect the Cowboys to keep the ball out of his hands and to run the ball a little bit more and lean on Pollard, lean on Zeke, and then maybe look at Schultz with a short passing game or something like that. So give me Deontay Johnson, Thielen, and Russell Gage, and leave CD on the bench.
God. All right. I think that you have to start CD just because you probably wasted draft capital on him. You're not gonna sit CD Lamb even, and he was your second round pick, maybe third round pick, something like that. And I think you just have to give him one more week. So I would start CD.
Still the number one.
Yeah, I mean, he's the number one. I would start Thielen just because me and my wide receiver twos. I'm a super huge wide receiver two guy, and I think he still has skill. And I like the way that the Minnesota offense looked last week. Obviously, we know what JJ did. He played out of his mind. He went crazy, but I still like Thielen there. So for me, it's between Deontay Johnson and Gage. I'm gonna have to sit Johnson. Reason being is that the quarterbacks, Brady and Trubisky. Trubisky didn't, show out, but he didn't play terrible. But I'm still going to go with Brady because he make things happen. He's going to push the ball down the field. He has to. And they still have a running game enough to where they could go play action to Fournette and make the defenses collapse on the run a little bit. He has Mike Evans on the other side, which is going to take some attention away from him. We saw what he could do when he was in Atlanta. Now with the better quarterback, I would start Gage, especially with Julio Jones being out and Chris Godwin being out. Brady has to throw the ball to someone. Gronk isn't there anymore. So out of these four guys, I would sit Johnson.
Yeah, the only, and I This is it's
There,
tough. I think you can
Jerry
go
just
either way. You can go either way here. Deontay Johnson, he's a target guy. It's true. Deontay Johnson was targeted 12 times last week. He had 7 catches for 55 yards. So he still came away with value if you're playing PPR. You got to think that should still be there. They're in a close game today. Spread wise with the Patriots, they are 3-point dogs. I think the over under last time I looked was at 40.5, 40 and a half. So there should be a little bit of points, but it's expected to be towards the low end. But like Jerry said, Deontay Johnson is a target hog. So even if it's a low scoring game, you got to think Deontay Johnson still walks away with 10 targets.
Yeah, I like Jerry's take too. It's a sit Russell Gage. He's coming off an injury as well and don't know what he's about yet. So yeah, I mean, I could see that a little bit
It's
of
tough.
uncertainty there.
It's tough. And
For
then
Gage.
one more, because I do think this is probably one of the more talked about topics or talked about players in fantasy before we get to the next slide. And this is also from Diego. And I think Mark also, he said he
Yeah.
wants to play Cam Akers as a flex. Now,
I don't know
I'll
about
just
all
say
that.
I'm all the way off on Cam Akers right now. Cam Akers is in the what I like to call the show me something category. He has to have a show me game first. Like I have to see it to believe it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like one of those things. Like I don't believe in Santa Claus until I see it. I'm not gonna believe in Cam Akers until he gives me, a good 70-yard game with a touchdown. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
some good production. Was not on the field a lot last week. He said that he was a little bit surprised. Shout out to Mark. He posted an article in one of our group chats this week talking about Cam Akers, saying he was surprised in his role. And then McVay also said that he has to show him something too. He has to play with a little bit more of a sense of urgency. To which Cam Akers said that if he wants me to be more urgent, then I'll be more urgent. So, are you expecting a bounce back week 2 for Cam Akers? Or are you with me saying you got to show me something before you get on my starting roster?
I'm I'm out on Akers because Henderson had such a good game too. It's
Yep,
not like
I didn't even mention Henderson. I didn't even
yeah,
mention yeah.
it's not like, oh, Akers can bounce back because he'll get the looks and he'll get the opportunities because he's the main guy there. No, he has somebody already on his heels, taking touchdowns away from him and somebody who's a different kind of back as well. Henderson's, bigger, stockier back for pass protection as well. We see that in Dallas that Pollard cannot, pick up the blitzes sometimes. So I'm all out on Akers. Diego said that he could let me see, where's Diego's comment at? He said that he could choose two. He goes, I could choose two and put Akers or McKissick as my flex, going back to his wide receiver question. I don't think I would flex Akers at all or McKissick. I think that it would come down to either McKissick or Gage, which is probably what his decision would be. But as far as going back to Cam Akers, man, I'm out on him. Marky, stay away from him. Diego, stay away from him until, like Roland said, he proves something. It's a high-powered offense. I like players on
Yeah.
high-powered offenses. They're going to move the ball down the field, so he's going to get his opportunities. It's just what is he going to do with them? And it's a small size sample. It was only 1 week, but he put up an absolute dud. And when you're flexing guys, you always look at that, and it's easier to leave them on your bench compared to like a CD Lamb who didn't do what he was expected, but it's like, fuck, it's CD. I kind of have to start him anyway. It's easier to start. It's easier to sit the flex guys, and Cam Akers is a perfect example.
Good point. Good point.
Yeah.
I know I said we're gonna move on to the next slide, but
Yeah, we can go to Noe's.
Okay,
Yeah.
we got one more comment. This for Noe. Shout out Noe. As his flex, it's a full PPR league. He has Jamal Williams, Kenyon Drake, who's here with the Ravens that are pictured, or Devonta Smith. Or should he play his flex, or should he play his tight end as a flex? Tanyan and Ertz. And I think he's saying, he has 2 tight ends, and he's going to play obviously one of them at tight end and the other at flex. Where do you go here, Ron?
Jamal Williams, we said it at the top of the show.
Yeah, I think
I was
consensus.
Yeah, I mean, I was a big guy on him before the season even started when Hard Knocks came out. He was a solid guy when he was in Green Bay. Swift is unbelievable, but Williams, you don't get a lot of fall off. It's kind of like the Zeke and Pollard situation a little bit. I mean, the backup running back still has those great qualities where he could be an all three down kind of back. We see Jamal Williams get targeted in the pass game as well. So for me, Noe, this is clearly a Jamal Williams play, even though it's going to sound weird because he put up absolutely no points last week. But Devontae Smith, I have him in 2 of my leagues. I thought he was going to do great. So I could see where you were a little stuck here. But for me, Jamal Williams is definitely your play. I'd stay away from Tanyan. I think he's coming off an injury as well. We saw that the pass game for the Packers wasn't great. The only one that I am kind of flirting the idea of maybe starting him too would be Ertz. He did have a touchdown last week. I know that for sure. There's not a lot of mouths to feed over there in Arizona because there's no Nuke. Hollywood Brown is there, but he's a deep threat. So I could see maybe Ertz or Jamal Williams being a decision, but being a running back to tight end, I'm going to go with the running back and Jamal Williams.
Yeah. Give me Jamal Williams. Here's consensus. Shout out to Ben again here in the comments saying he's with Jamal Williams also. So all 3 of us are on Jamal Williams. We already mentioned it when we were talking about Swift earlier. As Mark pointed out, Swift is going to be on a pitch count today. So Jamal Williams was already getting the goal line work, and he's walked away with 2 touchdowns last week. He's for sure going to get at least a little bit more work this week with Swift being on a pitch count. So maybe throw in 5 to 7 more touches, maybe like just for Jamal Williams right there, right off the bat. So he's got a pretty good baseline already. You add to that. And then also they're playing the Commanders, don't have the best defense. The total is set at 48.5, a total that I know that you're interested in, Ron.
Yeah.
So definitely going to expect points in that game. So definitely a lot of opportunity for Jamal Williams to fill in for guys like Kamara. So a great question, Noe. And hopefully Jamal Williams comes to play for you guys.
I was going to say, hopefully Jamal Williams doesn't make us look like a bunch of idiots. And
hopefully he comes through.
Yeah.
All right, and a good point again by Jerry here. Detroit also two-headed running back system, just like Green Bay's got.
Yeah, and their offense put up 35 points last week.
Yeah. All right, so let's move on. We got another fantasy question again from Josh. I thought it was the last one over here. He was killing it.
He was all in our bag, bro.
Hey, shout out to Josh creating conversation for us. Start 2 and bench 2. Chubb versus the Jets, Zeke versus Cincinnati, Gibson versus Detroit, and Josh Jacobs versus Arizona. Start 2, give me Chubb and give me Gibson, and bench 2, I'm going to bench Zeke and I'm going to bench Josh Jacobs.
Man, isn't that wild to say? Like, we're benching Zeke. This guy was a fantasy stud.
Yeah.
And now he's, optional as benched. I mean, just straight up bench. Like, not even like as my flex or anything. Like, I can't start him as an RB1 or not even RB2, not even as a flex. It's like this guy deserves to be on the bench, which is crazy. But to answer his question, I'm definitely going with Chubb. We saw what he did last week without a touchdown. He put up over 100 yards.
He's a beast, man. He's a beast.
They don't like to throw the rock over there. They took Cooper that way, but with a quarterback like Jacoby Brissett, the focus is a run game. We saw what Hunt did too. So for sure, I'm starting Chubb. Shit, man. Zeke versus Cincy at home. The Cowboys are going to be behind, and unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get back into the game because Cooper Rush is slinging it. I like Gibson here, man. I really do like Gibson because of that Commanders offense. They put up, I want to say they got into the 30s as well. I think it's going to be a shootout in Detroit, and Gibson is that running back who can. I'm just big on PPR backs who can catch the ball. And Gibson is one of those guys. I mean, that's why Eckler is who he is. They don't pound it inside. They're more of a pass catching target, especially to get into the touchdown. It's not like let's just dink and dump to get some yards. No, they dink and dunk to get into the end zone as well. So give me Chubb and give me Gibson versus Detroit. I'm off on Josh Jacobs. I drafted him high in our league, but he didn't show out for me last week. So he's kind of on my shit list a little bit. Give me Gibson, give me Chubb here, Josh, and hopefully you win your matchup this week.
Yeah, and Jerry, he kind of sums it up here on the Cowboys, and it's kind of where I'm at with Zeke too. Just got to show me something. We got to see what you're going to be like with Cooper Rush at quarterback, because we saw what it was like with Dak, and we'll talk about it because we're going to save the end.
It's a perfect
for the end, but
it's a perfect transition to the next question. What Jerry's talking about.
For sure, for sure. So let's get to Ben's question because I know Ben's about to clock in at work here, and he needs to get off, and he needs to get an answer from us. He wants to know. This is a hard question. It's probably the hardest question that I think we've had. Devin Singletary or Dortch at the flex. I'm assuming it's PPR. Dortch, we saw he got some work. I know early on in the game when I was watching, I heard his name getting a couple of catches. I'm pulling up his stat line from last week. And Devin Singletary, we all know, the running back for the Bills. While I pull up Dortch's stat line, where are you leaning here?
I'm going to go Singletary here because of the high-powered offense. I mean, if Ben's Bills Mafia, like he says that he is, this shouldn't be a question at all. He should be putting his boy Singletary. But fantasy is fantasy, and you can't have favorite teams in fantasy. But regardless, bro, I would go Singletary just because of his ceiling. We saw that Gabe Davis is questionable. That's an offensive option that is taken away from Josh Allen. So maybe they focus a little bit more on the run game, knowing that they only have Stephon Diggs out there.
Yeah, I'm going to go the other way. I'm going with Dortch, and I'm cheating here because I looked at his stat line from last week. I did say he was getting some action in the first half when I was watching, but he did end up with 7 catches for 63 yards on 9 targets, no touchdowns. Give me one more week of Dortch. Rondale Moore still out. He was there listed. We didn't get to him on the injury report, but Rondale Moore is out another week. Hopkins is out another week. And we already saw that he has some rapport with Kyler Murray. So give me Dortch here just one more week over Singletary. And hopefully that works out for you, Ben.
Yeah. I mean, they're playing
the Raiders. And
they're playing the Raiders away.
The Raiders look susceptible on defense last week. So should be some opportunity there for some points to be scored. So let's get to it.
Yeah.
Let's get to it. Shout out Alan. This question came through Instagram. With Dak, and just one more point from Jerry real quick. Isn't that guy like 5'7"? It's even better. He's got the short guy connection with Tyler. So with Dak injured, should I cut my losses and look to trade CeeDee Lamb? Shout out Alan. Again, this came through Instagram. You can get to us through Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. Ron, you said you're still riding with CeeDee another week, but if the opportunity arose for you to trade him, are you looking to do that, or do you think his stock is too low right now?
I mean, a lot of it depends on the Dak injury, man. Because if you trade him here and you lose him, and then Dak comes back and he goes off, you're gonna be like, shit, I should have kept him. But I mean, if Dak's out, let's just say an average of 6 weeks, I think you trade him. I honestly think you do, depending on what you get back. If you can get a solid. I mean, it doesn't. I don't know how his team is either. If it's heavy wide receiver or if it's heavy running back, but I would trade him now because his stock is still kind of high, even though he's not doing great. If you have a Cowboy fan in your fantasy league, which I'm sure that you do, somebody's still gonna trade you a decent running back for him, or if not, maybe solid wide receivers. We saw how the injury report was this morning. There's injuries all over the league, so you don't know if if you're gonna have enough players to roster sometimes. So if you can get back 2 solid players for CD, I would definitely be looking to cut your losses and to trade him.
Yeah, I would probably try and trade him like before the start of this game, because to your point, it's probably not going to look pretty with Cooper Rush. Mm-hmm. And after somebody sees that, they're probably not going to be too motivated to give you the true value for CeeDee Lamb, which is what you'd expect, because Dak is going to come back at some point. And you got to think once Dak comes back, CeeDee's going to be successful. I mean, it's not just going to be like what week 1 was before Dak got hurt. You got to think he's going to come back and be the wide receiver 1 that everybody's looking for. But, this is hard to say.
It is.
This is hard to say because it is Cooper Rush, and I'm trying to be reasonable here. But CeeDee Lamb, I mean, he has a lot to prove himself as being a true wide receiver 1, right? Amari Cooper's not there. We lost a lot of guys in the offseason. Gallup is still hurt. So the talk was, CeeDee Lamb's our guy. CeeDee Lamb, he's wearing the 88. He's wearing the playmaker number. A lot is on him to step up. I mean, it's going to be hard for him to do it with Cooper Rush there, but definitely as a Cowboy fan, want to see more out of CeeDee Lamb. But to answer Alan's question, I would try and trade him before the game today because it's not going to look good.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think that week 2, week 3, week 4 helps you if you are looking to trade. If you're going to trade, do it now, get some good value for him, and move on the rest of the year with some decent players who you know can have a better quarterback, or in a better, if it's a running back, you know, a better situation to get you points, because in fantasy you want points, and it doesn't look like those points are going to come in big amounts from CD Lamb.
Who would you rather have the rest of the year, C.D. Lamb or Deontay Johnson?
Man, I think I'm going to go with Deontay Johnson.
Yeah, I'd probably go Deontay Johnson as well because he's shown to kind of be. I mean, I don't want to use this phrase, but quarterback proof. Like he's still,
Uh-huh.
gonna get his targets. He still walks away with 10 targets, no matter who the quarterback is,
Yeah.
and he's a good receiver for all intents and purposes. Not that C.D. Lamb isn't, but I mean, C.D. Lamb doesn't show up, unless Dak is there too. So
I could already hear Ben saying Maserati Mitch. Maserati Mitch, baby.
yeah, it's tough here dealing with these situations, especially so early in the season. You don't want to give up on CeeDee Lamb, like you were saying earlier too. You probably spent a second round draft pick on CeeDee Lamb, so
Yeah.
hard
So
to give
trade
up on
him.
him so early. Yeah.
Trade him, bro. Get rid of him.
All right, another fantasy question. This comes in from Izzy. Shout out Izzy. Ron, do you want to take us
Yeah.
through what his question is here?
Yeah, I think it's more just of an optimal lineup kind of question. If, as we can see here, I think he sent us his lineup and he says, who should I insert, who should I bench, who should I start? It's looking like he's
First of
debating.
all, it's looking like he's in like an 8-person league. He's got a lot of players on here.
He does, man. So I'm thinking he's either maybe Russell Wilson or Jalen Hurts. I mean, I could see that as maybe being a question. You have Hurts in going against Minnesota, and you have Russell Wilson going against Houston. I would start. Who would you start? I'm gonna put it on you
I
for
would
this
I
one.
would go Russ here. I like the Broncos in a big bounce back game. The over under set at 45.5. They're 10-point favorites against the Texans. I mean, you I think it was you or somebody I was
Uh,
talking to. It was 17-16. They lost to the Seahawks this past week. But they were moving the ball pretty
hmm
easily. They
Yeah,
were
I
they were
mean, it was
they were
just
just
those two
having trouble
fumbles at the
scoring.
goal line.
Yeah, they were just having trouble scoring. Russ was having his way. They were moving the ball up and down the field. So give me one more week of Russell Wilson. It's a good choice to have between Russ and
Uh-huh.
Hurts. I think you're going to be fine either way, but give me Russ in this situation here.
Yeah, and I think he has Dylan in the starting lineup, and then he has somebody like Thielen, wide receiver 2 versus an RB 2. That's kind of tough. They're predicted at Thielen's at 12.1 points and Dylan's at 12.4. That's a straight up toss up to me, man. AJ Dillon going against Chicago, and then you have Thielen at Philadelphia in the Monday night game. Shoosh.
This is a tough one too.
It is, but I'm more wide receiver. I'm sorry, I'm more running back biased, and Dylan showed the hell out. So how can you bench a guy like Dylan who just came off that performance? I'm gonna go with Dylan in Chicago versus Thielen in Philly.
Yeah, I'm gonna go AJ Dillon here as well. I think he has the safer floor in this situation, and they're talking in Green Bay like they already know that Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon are their two best players, and that they
Uh-huh.
need to get them the ball more. And that's because AJ Dillon he outpaced Aaron Jones in touches, which they said that's probably going to even out a little bit more this week. They're going to try and get Aaron Jones the ball more, but they're still going to run the ball a lot. So don't worry about even if Aaron Jones is going to get more touches this week. AJ Dillon still has a safe floor. You should still get a touchdown with AJ Dillon here. It's going to be a run heavy game. I think the line on that one, Packers are also 10-point favorites. And I
Yeah.
think the over under on that one, I want to say the last time I checked was 41.5. I don't have it
hmm
up in front of me. But kind of a low scoring game. Going to be run heavy though. So let's load up AJ Dillon here.
Yeah, I
Quick
wouldn't.
question.
I wouldn't mess with this lineup, Peck. I would just leave it the way it is.
Well, just
Leave Russell in for Hurts, in my opinion, and
yeah,
then leave Dylan, starting over to Thielen. Just leave
make
it the way it is. Don't tinker, and
yeah.
hopefully you get the win as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing too. We're sitting here all week. I mean, I don't know about you, but as soon as Tuesday morning rolls around, I'm looking at my lineup and seeing what's up
Yeah.
for week 2, or sometimes even as the Monday night game is going on, depending what's going on with my team, I'm already looking at week 2, and you tinker a lot. Like I move in guys in and out. Like you overthink it sometimes is what I'm trying to get to. So I'm just
Yeah.
kind of trying to piggyback off of your last point. Don't tinker too much. I think the way that you have it right now kind of works. But definitely some good choices to have here. And I want to know, honestly, if you're watching this, is he at any points? Let me know. Is this an 8-man league, a 10-man league? 'Cause it looks like a pretty stacked team for fantasy football.
Yeah, it does.
All right, this is our betting segment. I do want to point out I guess we're doing the super contest still. We're giving out our 3 best plays. These are my 3 spread picks. These are plays that I've actually taken. I've taken these throughout the week. So like the Patriots, I got at -2.5. This is a game I bet early just because honestly, the one takeaway that I have from what I saw from the Steelers game is it took them all of what happened on Sunday, a
Uh-huh.
blocked kick, a shanked field goal, 4 interceptions from Joe Burrow,
Burrow.
to
Fumbles.
still fumbles, to still barely win in overtime, a game that you argue they probably should have lost too. I mean, all of
Yeah.
that from the defense. They lose TJ Watt now.
Yep.
I mean, the Patriots, I mean, if I'm being honest and I'm keeping it real, they did not look much better against the
Against Miami.
Dolphins. They have not looked good um, pretty much since Matt Patricia has been named the offensive coordinator. But give me the Patriots.
Wow.
I have their season total under. So, I mean, even if they lose here, I won't be too heartbroken. But I like the Patriots. I like the situation that they're in. I like the spot. Like I said, the Steelers are coming off of an emotional overtime victory that took everything, the whole kitchen sink for them to win, and they lose their leader. So give me the Patriots for, if anything, a situational mismatch, I think, here. So give me the Patriots -2.5.
The line's up to 3 now in that game, so you got
Okay.
it. You got it good.
So got it under a field goal. So give me the Pats -2.5. Give me the Broncos -10. Large spread.
That
Like I said
is.
with my Russell Wilson pick, they moved the ball pretty easily against Seattle. I mean, are the Houston Texans that much better than the Seattle Seahawks this year? I don't think so. I know they had a good game against the Colts, but they always played the Colts pretty tough. They come out to fight week 1. Give me the Broncos. Give me them -10. I think they cover. I think we end up seeing a score something like 35-17, something along those lines. I think there's going to be a lot of points in this game. The Broncos are going to make up for all the touchdowns they didn't score last week. Those 2 fumbles they had on the goal line, other missed opportunities. Give me the Broncos here. Big blowout, -10. This game, the last one, I'm the most worried about. This is a game. Actually, this is the first bet that I made of the week. Like, this is as soon as the lines came out, I bet this game. Lions PK. I was already not high on the Commanders. I watched a lot of their game against the Jags. I was on the Jags in that game +3. Ended up losing out on the spread. I think it was like 24-19, but the Jags should have won that game.
Yeah.
Based on what I saw. The Jags should have won that game. I know the Commanders' offense looked pretty good. That's why we like Antonio Gibson and some of those fantasy matchups. But give me the Lions here. I'm a little worried, though, because DeAndre Swift is on a pitch count, and they are down their starting center, Frank Ragnow. He is out with a groin and ankle injury, so that's big news. But give me the Lions. This is a team that always fights. Like, I'm expecting a high-scoring game. The total is at 48.5, so the game is at PK. Truly a toss-up. Can't feel too bad about that, but definitely not feeling as confident as I was earlier in the week when I made these bets. But those are my 3.
I like them, bro. I like them. I mean, the Lions pick and the Patriots pick, it's always good to have games that don't have such a big spread because it's a little bit easier to hit. And the Broncos, like you said, I like it -10. I think they show out. They move the ball easily, and it's an easy number to cover. We saw what their offense did. The receivers look good. The running game wasn't bad. So I like those picks. I'm gonna get to Noe real quick right here before we go into my picks. Who should I start at quarterback? Derek Carr versus Cardinals or Tua versus Ravens? What do you think, Roland? Real quick.
I'm not high on either quarterback. I think they're right around the same level, if you're asking me. But give me Derek Carr. I like his matchup more against the Cardinals. They're about 5.5 point favorites. The Cardinals super hurt right now. A lot of guys on the injury report on the defensive side of the ball. They lost a lot already on defense before the season started. So give me Derek Carr to have a little bit of a bounce back game because I know he disappointed guys a little bit last week.
Yeah, no, I'm going to agree with Roland here, and I'm going to go with Derek Carr. He has to have a little bit of time to get with Devontae Adams as far as, running routes and timing and all that. But I think there's more weapons over there, which is crazy to say because Tua has guys like Jalen Waddle and, the
Tyreek
Cheetah,
Hill, yeah.
but their running game isn't as great. So that makes them a little bit one-dimensional. And we saw the pass that he threw to Tyreek Hill. He underthrew the hell out of him. Tyreek just made a hell of a grab. So
Yeah.
it's just overall arm strength, quarterback play. I'm going to go with Derek Carr here over Tua Noe. So I would start Derek Carr. But good morning, fellas. Game day, Mark Signs. Good morning, Mark, to you. And yes, the
Good
Lions do
morning.
the Lions do suck,
And
but
I do
we
have
can get
some. I was gonna say I have some other plays. We can get to them after we give yours because I have more than just these three. But
oh, okay.
Ben, if you're listening, send in your three plays and we'll talk about them here for you. Just shouting out Ben, Big Pat.
Yeah.
If you're still watching us,
He
send in
went
your
to the
three plays.
UTSA game last night, guys. So we're gonna give him a
Yeah,
pass
give him
for
a little
not
bit of a
turning in
pass.
his plays.
He wears this cap, so that's a little bit of what he did last night. But still up for work though. Now we got Ron's three plays, and he's got a little over under action for us.
Yes, yeah. I know I should. Now that I think about it, I think we should. It was only spreads, but I just the slate was a little tough
It's a
this
tough
week.
slate. It's a tough
It
slate.
was, man. It really was. But give me Ravens -3. I think it's 3.5. So I'm buying it to -3, or maybe if your book has -3, um, I would
The
take
hook
it.
matters.
They're playing the Dolphins at home. The Dolphins had a great first half last week, but their second half, they didn't do much, man. And they, again, like I mentioned, they don't have the greatest running game. The Ravens defense has always been solid. Devin Duvernay was a big name that stepped up last week for Lamar Jackson. He's another target who we didn't think was going to be such a huge target like that. J.K. Dobbins is still out, but when you have a quarterback like like Lamar Jackson, who can just put the team on his back, I would definitely go Ravens -3 here. Second pick, Detroit, Washington. I didn't pick a side. I couldn't pick a side because we had mentioned that it's a very evenly matched game. But Washington did put up a lot of points last week. We saw Detroit go toe-to-toe with Philly in a 38-35 game last week. The offenses are moving the ball fairly easy, and the defenses are not great, especially in Detroit. Yes, Carson Wentz is the quarterback for the Commanders. He had some mistakes last week, but he still had a long shot to Scary Terry. Their running back is also solid. So I can see a lot of production in this game. So I stayed away from the spread, even though it's pretty much it's a pick 'em game now. So Detroit, Washington over 48.5. And finally, Bucks -2.5 with the news that Alvin Kamara is not going to be in the game. Historically, though, they are division foes. The Saints have had the number of the Bucks, even with Tom Brady under center. But from what I saw last week, and albeit it was against my Cowboys, who don't have the greatest team, but they have a great defense. So you put up those points at Jerry's World against that Cowboys defense, and then you go to the Saints, who have Jameis Winston back there, no Alvin Kamara. Give me the Bucks -2.5 here. And those are my three plays for the day. Kept the spreads under 3, which is what you like to see. And the only 48.5 in NFL, pass heavy league now. I could see that happening too at 48.5. And that's it. Those are my plays for the day. If you guys have any, submit them as well. I think Jerry's on. Jerry put his up here. He said Bucks -2.5, Jags +3, and Commanders +1. I think everybody's kind of focusing on the same games. No, Roland, like the Commanders game is getting a lot of love.
People target injuries. So he's playing the Jags +3 against the Colts, who are injured right now, and the Jags they own the Colts in Jacksonville. They're 6-0 against the Colts, the last 6 in Jacksonville. That's straight up and against the spread. So the Jags, not only do they win, I mean, not only do they cover, but they win straight up against the Colts at home. And everybody remembers
Yeah, that
the
Carson Wentz
game,
game.
the last game of the season, excuse me.
Uh-huh.
Colts just needed a victory. They were like 16-point favorites against the Jags, and they lost. And
Mm-hmm.
that's how Carson Wentz got his ass shipped to Washington.
Oh my God.
So we all remember what happened. The Jags are a tough out in Jacksonville, so definitely like that look. And Jerry and I got a little head to head here, going to Commanders versus the Lions. But that game's a true toss up to me because it's
Lions plus
confident.
Lions are gonna win by exactly 1 point,
Yeah.
and both of you guys are gonna hit, bro.
Because even as confident as I was in the Lions, like when I took the bet initially, this is like before the injury news, before Swift, and before the lineman injury. I mean, you still go into every game that you bet on the Lions knowing that you're betting on the damn Detroit Lions. You know, like you're always taking a little bit of that into consideration. You're always like, shit, like I'm betting on the Lions. Like I have to
Did I
be
just do
willing.
that?
I have to be willing to accept whatever happens afterwards, knowing that I'm betting on the Lions, no matter how confident I might be. So,
Yeah.
got a little bit of a toss up game there, but definitely what makes the NFL worth watching, or a little bit more enticing, if you will. But those are the picks, Ron. If you were to pick a third guy against the spread, or a third team against the spread, where would you go?
Oh man, I really didn't. I actually did like, not to tell you, but I really did like the Broncos -10. I don't. Me personally, anything over 6.5, 7 is tough
It's
for me.
scary. Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. It's just scary. Off the bat, I kind of like the Giants at the Panthers. That's another game that's even. The Giants are at home. They didn't play well last week, but can we safely say that Barkley is back? Or is that a little bit of an overreaction to his solid week 1 play?
Yeah, I think I'm kind of on the other side there. I like the
The
Panthers. I
Panthers?
just it's the same thing with the line. Like when you're betting on these teams, like you just have to know, like, shit, am I really gonna put money on Daniel Jones like to win me a game? Like knowing the way that freaking Daniel Jones plays, like you just have to be willing to accept it. I got this update as well on my phone. Jerry points it out here in his comment. Jameis Winston is playing with 4 fractures in his back already
Damn.
without Kamara. Jameis Winston in a little bit of pain.
There it is, baby.
Tom Brady, he can't lose 5 games to one team in a row, right?
Lock in the 2.5, baby.
He can't lose 5 games in a row, right?
Nah, hell no.
I mean,
Not in his last year. Not in his farewell tour year.
that's
There's
what
no
I'm saying.
way.
He can't lose 5 games in a row. Give me the Bucks. I'm making them an official play here for myself.
Hey,
I'm gonna take the Bucks. I'm putting them in right now. Shout out to Mark. Mark, joining in here last couple minutes of the pod. He wants to know, and you got to start Taysom Hill after that news as well.
yeah.
What you agree?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, he had a touchdown last week, and he wasn't even a big part of the game, part of the game plan. So yeah, I mean, I'd say start him. Why not?
Yeah.
Everything's gonna flow through him.
Yep. Everything's gonna flow through him. You already know he's paid, so they got to get him in the game somehow. And he was already getting action, like you said last week, anyway. So yeah, Taysom Hill definitely a good look. Do we got anything else to get to, Ron, before we break down the Cowboys game a little bit?
I don't think so, man. Let's just get to the boys and see how they're gonna break our heart again this year and today, and going against my Bengals, my Joey B, the Bengals are my side piece team.
Your side piece. They're your side piece. All right, that's fair. The total of the over under for this game, I'm gonna put it up over here on the
Go
screen
ahead.
real quick. It on per DraftKings. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah.
So we're looking at our DraftKings line right here. This may vary based on your local books, but the Bengals are starting to see some -7.5 in the market. That's a big key indicator right now. Whenever it crosses over 7, you never know. I mean, that's not that you never know, but that's a key indicator. Like when you're getting 7.5, I mean, that might just be auto buyback. Like you might just have to take the Cowboys no matter what on the 7.5 because of the backdoor aspect. Are you willing to dabble in on the Cowboys at plus 7.5?
Hell no. Just because it's Burrow's not going to play the way that he played last week. they're gonna put up points on us, and there's no answer. And the Bengals don't have the greatest defense either, but I just I'm sad, dude. I'm sad that we get to go into every Sunday and teams spreads are like 7. They're gonna be like 9. You know, we might even see some 10s, and just no love for us. And it's well deserved that we get no
Yeah,
love.
and with that being said, that I think this is an opportunity to tease the Bengals if you don't want to put them in a parlay. I'm going back to the Bengals with my teaser of the week. It's not pictured up here, but
Oh yeah, we
I
need
do
to
have
do
the
it.
Bengals and a 7-point teaser. It was based on the -7 spread, so I got them down to PK, and I teased the Dolphins up from +3.5 to +10.5. So I'm rolling in with the Dolphins +10.5 and the Bengals PK. That's a 2-team 7-point teaser. That's going to be my teaser of the week. I like the Cowboys to kind of keep this game close. I think 7.5 could be a decent look if you're willing to buy in on the Cowboys. And the only angle for me here, if I were to, to get myself to believe a little bit, if I were to, try and sell you on the Cowboys, it's they D'd up last
Yeah.
week. They D'd up. They played some very good defense. The pass rush was looking good. Didn't really give up too many big plays. We held in there for the most part. I think our pass rush could give the Bengals some trouble. I know the Bengals revamped their offensive line, but the Bengals' offensive line looked like crap against the Pittsburgh Steelers, albeit it is the Steelers. They have one of the best defensive lines, best defenses in the league.
For
So
sure.
a lot of teams are gonna look like crap against them. But the Cowboys defense, I think, is legit. You got the over-under set at 42. Are you willing to dabble in on the under?
I could see, man, the Vegas like pinpoints these fucking numbers on these games, man. I could maybe see an over here. I just because I think the Bengals can put up a lot of points, but just going over it in my head right now, I could really see a sloppy game though, man. It's a 3 o'clock game. It could be a little sloppy. You could see the Bengals coming in a little overconfident, maybe. So maybe the under could be a play. But I want to go back to talking about teasers. I actually took one last night and I
Okay.
forgot, and I have it open. I took under 63 in the UTSA Longhorns game, and it was 41-20. So that covered by 2 points. And the other team that I teased was the Bengals to -1. I bought 6 points.
Nice.
So I
Nice.
have Bengals -1, man. So
All right.
that's what we're riding with right now.
So we're riding on
Yeah,
Bengals.
Bengals -1. Going back to bets, I opened up a 3-team parlay as well with the Ravens money line at -188. So I have 2 open plays, and we'll go ahead and fill those out later on throughout the day as it gets closer to game time.
All right. All right. Anything else you want to get to on this fine Sunday afternoon? I mean, Sunday morning.
Man.
Excuse me.
No, sir. I'm just ready for football, waiting for week 2. Thanks for everybody who was in the comments today. Noe, Jerry was with us, I think, the whole show. Marky got on late. Mark Chapa as well. Thanks, guys. We appreciate Josh, you sending in the fantasy mailbag questions. You started us off good. EC as well, sending in your lineup. We appreciate all the love, guys. Thank you for submitting to fantasy mailbag. Share it. We'll get some more questions. And if you want to drop them in the comments live, you can do that as well.
Yep. Appreciate all the love. Thank you for everybody being in the comments, joining us every Sunday. We love doing these Sunday sit downs. Probably my favorite show of the week.
Yeah.
And as always, here for those of you guys watching, subscribe on Twitter. Look for us on Apple, Spotify, Facebook, Instagram. It all helps. The more likes and subscribes that we get, the more reach we have, and we get to show our podcast to more people.
Yes, sir.
To more people out there. So always appreciate the love. We will be back tomorrow. We're going to do our Monday recap podcast. We're going to recap everything that happens today. Hopefully none of us are in shambles when we come into the show on Monday. Hopefully none of us lost our behinds in fantasy or with some of our picks. Because like Ron said, it's a tough week. It's a very tough week. Some of the spreads, you got 3 spreads that are double digits. You got the Rams -10, Broncos -10, Packers are touching 10. The 49ers are like -8.5, -9. So already there, 4 games right off the bat. You're dealing with close to double digit spreads. So it makes it a little hard to find your spots
The
there. You know,
cap.
that's why you gotta lose. Lose. That's why you gotta use teasers. Depending on your book, if you can, throw in some parlays with the money line on some of these favorites that you're confident in that are going to come through. There's other ways to attack these games. Ron is on some totals. Ron's on that over 48 and a half in the
Some
Lions
points,
and
boys.
Commanders game. And then, yeah, man. So definitely a tough week out there. Definitely what makes the NFL so interesting is, hey, all of these guys at the end of the day are professionals, right? So that's why it's hard to take these 10-point spreads because even though the Texans might be scrubs, they still got quote unquote scrubs. I'm saying that in the most respectful way possible. They're still beasts at the end of the day. They're still top 1% out there. So a lot of talent all around the league. And like I said, we'll be back on Monday with our recap podcast. And thanks again to everybody that's joined us this week, last week, and through any of our shows throughout this past week. Any other parting shots for you, Ron?
That's it, man. Every Sunday, guys, at 10 a.m. is like the guaranteed show. Shows throughout the week we put together. We do go live, but it's more like of a, hey, spur of the moment, let's get together and cover this. But for sure, every Sunday at 10 a.m. we will be on. Whether it's two of us like today, four of us, or one of us, we'll have a show regardless. Sundays at 10 a.m. So that's the one to watch. That's the one that we will be here for sure.
Yeah, and we'll try and do a contest throughout the year. Something we'll come up with something. I know we did Survivor last year. Maybe we'll do a little pick'em contest one week or something like that, just to get some engagement going. And like Ron said, he feels like doing a little giveaway.
I do. We will
hopefully
soon.
here in the next couple weeks. But yeah, guys, that was We Talking About Sports. That was another Sunday sit down.
Yes,
again, find us next week, Sunday at 10. See ya.
Later, guys.